The Nike Vomero Plus versus the Puma MagMax NITRO. Both max stack shoes, daily trainers on the market, but we have to ask the question, which one is the better daily trainer overall? Let's compare and contrast and find out. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed watching the content. Thanks so much, love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things like that. So without further ado, let's begin. Specs for both shoes. Some are up here where they are visible. I'll give you guys like a quick 30-second breakdown of what I think, and then we're going to break it down even more as we start analyzing the different pieces of this, right? So for the average runner, I don't think one or the other is going to matter too much for you if, your goal is to just have a daily trainer that is, max stack, max cushion, you want it to be comfortable on the road. I think both will serve their purpose well. There's just a couple of factors to consider. Number one, I think a consideration on whether you're a heavier set runner is going to be important with foam choices between the two, right? This isn't going to be like the Vomero 18 and the Vomero Plus, where similar types of compound of ZoomX are applicable. We have nitro foam and then we have ZoomX, right? I think there's a lot more stability in the MagMax for a heavier set runner, but as a result you may be trading a little bit of speed, but the same concept may apply here where speed is sort of traded off for a softer, plushier foam. But between both of these, I think they kind of line themselves up in this more everyday recovery kind of category. So now that's a really brief summary, but we're going to break it down a little bit more and give you some additional thoughts based on experience from there. So again, I've already shown you guys specs. Main things to consider is some of the major differences between both shoes. We'll start with the Vomero Plus, I guess, right? We have a 45 millimeter heel, 35 millimeter forefoot, 10 millimeter offset, giving it a really high heel effect. And again, that end result gives the shoe about 9.9 ounces, 281 grams on average. Fairly light as a max stack shoe compared to some of its predecessors. So as the tech got better, that's kind of where we're at with this one. Whereas with the MagMax from Puma, this shoe kind of boasts something a little bit different, right? We got the 47 millimeter heel, 39 millimeter forefoot, 8 millimeter offset, so slightly larger heel, a little bit more of an offset, or a little bit less of an offset, so a less high heel effect with some other considerations there, right? Between both shoes, they do have one huge stack of whatever premium foam that is being used for each brand. So like here, we have the nitro foam that's being used, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, that we do have a little bit of creasing in this midfoot area on both sides of the shoe. Something that's expected. We do want the shoe to start creasing in certain areas so it doesn't feel like a plank after a little while. So when it creases here, it's a good sign that the shoe is getting worn in, broken in, and it's effectively trying to find its comfort spot with, your running form in consideration. So in this case, when I run with this shoe and I'm running a little bit slower, I have more of that midfoot sort of strike, or I attempt it a little bit more, and as a result, that's why we kind of have that strike where it is. Now, with the Vomero Plus, main things to consider is that we do have this sort of ZoomX compound. We're still not 100% sure, but it's like a PBA ZoomX compound mix. It's not the same one that we have like in the Alpha Fly or the Zoom Fly or any of the Next Percent series shoes that we know of. It's just something maybe a step down in that sort of comparison. And the foam in this case is a lot more bouncy in the Vomero Plus. As a result, kind of reduces a little bit stability. So when I was talking about earlier about being a more heavy set runner, you may want to lean against this one as a result. But again, you put on the shoe, you practice with it, you kind of give that assessment overall, right? But in terms of stability, I think the nitro foam has a little bit more of a stability factor considered than a ZoomX foam. I think this one's a lot more of a responsive foam, gives a little bit more speed as a result, but due to how high the stack height is, if you try to go faster in the shoe, you risk losing a lot of stability as a result. I think that's just a sort of a common sense thought. And just the way the shoe is sort of laid out, this is a little thought, I guess, is it's a lot more rounded, or I guess the word is crowned. It's a little bit more crowned for a little bit more of that rolling effect with the Vomero Plus, where I think based on the way the MagMax is built, it's a little bit more flat. It is slightly rounded still, but it's a lot wider and a little more flattened out, and that's what's sort of providing more of that stability, right? So that's just a consideration factor with the shoes. Now, because I'm about like, what, 5'8", 140 something pounds, weight going down as I'm in marathon training, both of them don't feel super unstable or too stable for me. It's just eye of the beholder kind of a thing to consider. Now, in terms of uppers, main thing to consider is they kind of follow a same principle in terms of non-gusseted tongues. I think the MagMax doesn't have nearly as much comfort in terms of the heel cup and the lip of the shoe as the Vomero Plus. Vomero Plus, I think, is built to be vastly more comfortable, but the toe box area is a lot tighter than in the Pumas. I don't know if that's just a build feature. I think I've been leaning more at like this wax style lining that's been in the forefoot area of the shoe. That might be what's causing the tightness, and as a result, it just kind of banging on my big toe and my index toe just slightly a little bit. So that's just the only thing to consider with the right shoe in particular in this case. Other things to think about. I mean, I guess in terms of ride, they are fairly similar in terms of where you would use them. Main thought, of course, like I mentioned, is that in terms of stability and recovery work, I think both shoes are like right about where you need them to be head on. That you would not necessarily consider them for a tempo workout, or if, let's say you were in that position where you said, hey, Phil, I need one of these for a tempo workout session. I guess in a way you would probably argue, right now I would argue, just because of pure experience, the MagMax NITRO. I think just because I've used the shoe more often, I have attempted it for some tempo sessions where I've gone on group runs where people were demoing, I think, like carbon plate shoes from New Balance, and I was the one running in the MagMax NITRO. Like, they would put in something like 7:30, 7:15, maybe even like 7 minute and change per mile pace, and I would be able to keep up with them in this shoe fairly well. And you know, you have to put in a little bit more work to run 7 minute miles in a max stack, but today, like, this shoe is comfortable at those pace ranges, and I have a lot of stability. I'm not afraid of rolling my ankle in this shoe, whereas with the Vomero Plus, as I'm pushing it into some of the paces, I do feel a little bit of wear and tear on my ankles. Not necessarily as a preemptive thing, but maybe it's a post-race thing, and I feel a little bit more of the jitteriness of it. Whether like I hit the ground a certain way and it rolls, and as a result, that's what I'm experiencing, is sort of that shock into my ankle for like the slight rolling that's occurring. That might be the sign of things that are maybe occurring and what to expect from that. But yeah, that's for the most part like the rides. They're both comfortable. They should be and have to be comfortable if they're going to be these max foam stack or max stack shoes on the market. But yeah, overall, there's like factors to consider here, right? Like, this one might be slightly faster than the Vomero Plus. It might, I guess, brag a little more stability across all types of runners associated with the shoe, but you're also trading the fact that the shoe may weigh slightly more than the Vomero Plus. But now with the Vomero Plus, you're boasting a more soft foam, so there's a lot more room for better recovery runs, better easy runs, a lot more potential for post-race cool-down miles, for example. So this is the prime example I'm going to use, right? Just this past weekend, I was running a half marathon, and I finished it in like an hour and 26 minutes, which I felt good after the race, and maybe like a couple hours after, I just put these on and I ran 7 miles at like 8:30, maybe sub 8:30 pace, and I felt good. I was exhausted, but like my joints and my body felt fine afterwards, and this was like the perfect choice shoe for a comfortable run post-race where you were using a carbon plate shoe that like absolutely like just beat the living life out of you, right? So that's just something to think about in terms of your shoe selections of like where you could utilize the Vomero Plus. Not in a similar way to me. Don't do the stupid things I do, but like that's just some of the things to consider. So I think I covered the major bases there. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section below. We can obviously talk about it. If you prefer one over the other, let me know as well. If there's one that you think is better than both of these that's on the market, also sound off. I know some people may say the Asics Nova Blast 5 is the choice, or the Nova Blast 4 if you're preferential to the older model. But we'll get to that comparison video eventually. But that being said, we'll leave it at this for now. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.